Hey guys, this is part 2 of my How to HTML web tutorial, and today we're going to be actually discussing some text editors to use and actually starting to edit our HTML file to get something that we can actually display in a web browser, which we didn't do last time. I know the last video was boring, but it was important to set up our CSS, images, and JS folders as you see here in front of me, and that's really going to keep us organized throughout this demo. So that's really what we need to get started. And we have our index.html file, and you'll also notice this new file called endresult.html. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you that now, but this is the page we're going to be building. So if I go ahead and click on here, and we go ahead and see it, you'll see this is really basic. This is a heading. This is a paragraph. Put your content here, and this is like the most basic HTML you can have. There's no style sheet associated with it right now. We'll get into that later, but this is really a good starting point to have. And notice the cute kitten. So yeah, this is a great place to start. And so how do we get there? How do we go from having this HTML file that we know nothing about, that nothing is inside, to this one? And I'm not going to show you the contents of this file. So you'll just have to, we'll just figure that out along the way. So when a lot of people think about editing HTML files, they think Dreamweaver, and they think they have to have Dreamweaver, and it really intimidates you if you've never used Dreamweaver before, because there's a lot of options, there's a lot of things going on that you're really not quite sure of when you first do it, and frankly it's not really necessary to create HTML. And all you really need is a text editor, and it's really about choosing the right tool for the job. And Dreamweaver, it'll work, but there's a pretty big learning curve, and a lot of people don't use it the right way. And so it's better to just start off with a text editor and learn from the ground up, because Dreamweaver you can use it's used as a crutch way too often than a real tool that helps you. And I think it's really beneficial in the end to just use a plain old text editor. So on that subject, what should we use as a text editor? I like Notepad++. You can use whatever you want. If you just Google Notepad++, it's probably the first link on there. It's free. It's pretty much, if you've ever used Notepad, it's just going to display text for you, except there's a little more to it. It does some syntax highlighting and some other things that are helpful to you, and it's just convenient and it's simple. So that's what I'm going to be using. And so the first step to get started, to start really editing, is we go into our HTML file. And what I'm going to do to open it, you don't double click this, because if I double click it now, it's just going to come up blank. We're not going to have anything here. So and that's what we'd expect. So we can't open it in a web browser. We open it in our text editor. So what I'm going to do is right-click this file and say Edit with Notepad++. So that's what I would recommend using. What's going to happen is a new window is going to pop up, and you'll just get this blank page of nothingness. So this is kind of intimidating by itself. Blank page. Where do we start? Well, let me start by saying HTML is a series of tags. It's a markup language, hypertext markup protocol. So, sorry, hypertext markup language. So, what we need to do is mark up text. And what we mean by markup is surround things with tags. And that's how a web browser is going to know what you're doing, is by marking up text. So hypertext. So what we need to start off with is a doc type, and that's really important. I'm going to use the basic HTML5 doc type, and that tells the browser we're looking at an HTML5 document, and that's where we want to start off, is just having this doc type HTML at the very top. That should be the first thing you do. And then we get into the basic structure of HTML. So the more you get used to it, the more you'll be familiar with doing this. But with any HTML web page, the first tags we want are HTML and /HTML. And you notice these greater than and less than symbols, that signifies a tag. and this is a close tag. So, and you always want to, if you create a new tag, you want a closing tag. And that's really important to remember when you're creating a valid HTML document. So that's where we start. The other two main elements that you want on your page are a body and a head. The head is where the certain information is going to go about your page. It's not going to get displayed by the web browser, but it's still really important. Things like the title will go there. Other links to other resources can go there. We'll talk about that later on. But so for now, I'll just go ahead and make a head tag and open and close it and put nothing in there for now. And the other part is the body, like I talked about. So we need a body. So if you notice, all my tags are closed. This is all valid code. And Notepad++, it'll show you where your opening and closing tags are. So if it looks like that, you're all set. So what we need now is some content on our page, and all the content is going to be in the body. So to start off with, there's a few simple tags for text formatting, and that's what we're going to start off with today. It's probably the most basic HTML you can learn. It's really old school, and it's going to look bad, but it's a good starting place. So when you're first getting to know tags and stuff. So if we want to make a heading, like really bold text, there's a really simple tag that we use. We can all call it H1. And we can say this is a heading /H1. Remember to close off the tag, that's really important. So we have a heading here. We can, if we want to do a paragraph of text, there's a tag called P. This is a paragraph. I mean, it's really pretty simple. It's straightforward, and it takes some getting the hang of, but once you do, it's not too bad. So this is a paragraph. Put your content here. So a lot of pages are going to look like this. And images. Every website has images, pretty much. Most of them anyways. If you want to do an image, source, and if you look in our images folder, I have a file called kitten.jpg. And this can be anything, but I've got this as a kitten. So what we want to do is, if you notice up here, demo1 images, we're going to make a relative link called images/kitten.jpg. And that URL is really important. And this is a special tag where we can just close it off at the end. It doesn't need a separate tag like this. That's not necessary. You just need to put this / at the end of it. And so that's a real special case. And so if we go ahead and save this, if we go File, wow, a lot of options. If we go to Save, or you can do Control-S, which I normally do. That's going to save all our data here. And so now if we go into our demo, if we can open this up, we will see our content. And that's exactly what we want. And that's where I'm going to leave it for now. You can play around with this a lot. There's a lot you can do, and I just barely scratched the surface for you. But we're going to talk about some more advanced things later on, like style sheets. I think that might be the next thing we cover. And this is really just to get you started, so just go crazy. And yeah, it's really, you're just limited by really what you can think of. So, alright, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.